and perspective with Chris Johnson.
Episode 19 with Dan Sugarman. We talk about all kinds of esoteric spirituality, yoga, and the internal martial art called Shin Yi. Check out his music on the Players Pick podcast playlist on Spotify. Boom. Players Pick podcast episode number 19 with my mother effing brother from another mother, Dan Sugarman.
What is up, Chris? How the fuck are you, dude?
Dude, I'm fucking great, dude, and it's good to see you.
It is really cool to be in your spot, man. We've been talking for years, and I'm finally in the the magic room.
Yeah, right. Well, this is a fresh new magic room in Hollywood, but I'm like I came to you essentially, even though you left before I got here, and now you're returning.
Now I'm back. Yeah,
that's good.
Yeah, I moved to Austin, Texas about a year and a half ago, and I'm currently looking at places to move back to. But actually, just on the way here, me and my girl were talking about expenses and how much more livable Austin is. So there's a chance that we're just going to stay in my huge badass house and not downsize by 3,000 feet and pay more.
Dude, I don't blame you.
Yeah,
I don't blame you. I just heard about the cost of living in Las Vegas, and I was like, say what? 5-bedroom house with fenced yard and a pool for $1,500 a month?
Oh God, dude, that's
like,
yeah.
I'm paying $13 for a room.
Yeah. It's fucked, dude. Like, but I have a massive spot in Austin. It's like 3,300 square feet. I'm paying $1,000 a month.
Shut up.
Or I could spend $3,000 a month for 650 square feet
here
in LA. Yeah. So it kind of becomes like that's not enough room for my studio gear. You know, I have too many things I'm working on to even fit into that. So I'm trying to find a way to balance that and see where I get taken. But either way, dude, it's just about finding an environment that I love, being in an area that I love, and being close to people like you, man. There's a lot of reasons I want to come back to LA. A lot of things are kind of pointing me this way again. So we'll see what happens.
Maybe there's a way to split the difference, find something that's legit here just because you got some bros and
absolutely, absolutely. That'd be incredible if I could find the spot. So I'm gonna crossing my fingers about that.
Well, dude, I know you're like kind of the big new gig that you've had now is this Ice Nine Kills gig, right? And that's kind of fresh. Like you just finished up a big tour. Supporting Falling in Reverse.
Yep. The first leg of the tour was our headliner, and then we slipped right into the second leg with Falling in Reverse, and it was incredible, man. It was just under 3 months. It's been probably 3 years since I toured last with As Blood Runs Black. I was with them for 8-9 years, doing a lot of touring, and then all of a sudden it was nothing, and it was home life, learning how to do that whole thing again. I was focusing on producing, mixing, guitar lessons, and that whole world. And then out of nowhere, I got contacted by Spencer, the vocalist of the band, on Instagram, believe it or not.
Nice. Thanks, Instagram.
Yeah, seriously. He just hit me up with some nice compliments, and I messaged my girlfriend. I was like, hey, this is really weird. I have a feling this guy's about to ask me to join the band. And within minutes, he's like, do you want to send an audition tape and go on tour with us very soon? And basically before he finished the sentence, I had already sent in 3 videos.
Nice.
And it was intense, man. I had a week or so to learn the entire set. I think it was about 13 songs, just under an hour of music with no tabs, no anything. I had to go in and listen to the songs and slow parts down and pan hard left just to hear what the left guitar is doing versus the right guitar.
Wow.
It was a lot of work, but it was, it's really fun to be able to flex your musical ear like that and see what you could do with it.
Dude, if there's a guy that can do it, I know you can.
Yeah, I tried. The band seemed to be really fucking happy. I mean, Spencer just said something the other day. We're actually, right after this, I'm heading to his place to do a little more rehearsal for the 25th anniversary of The Crow, which is screening on Wednesday at the Chinese Theater in Hollywood.
Yeah.
And they asked us to perform one of our songs acoustic.
Whoa. Which
is really cool. So we'll be doing that. So we had to kind of rearrange a song and make it all interesting. And we had to transpose it as well. So I'm sitting there with Spencer. He's like, dude, I know transposing this and making it all these guitar parts into one guitar. He was saying if there's anyone he can rely on, it's me. And I'm sitting there shaking my head this is a fucking mess, dude.
But that feels good though. I mean, that's part of the struggle. You that when you get offered a challenge like that it's actually almost par for the course that you almost have to be in a state of disbelief around
Yes.
like, can I even do this?
Yes.
Like, do I want to do this? Like, and then you step into it and you're on the other, as you're in the middle of it and close to the other side, you're like, oh yeah, okay, like,
oh yeah,
like you said, flexing the muscle.
yeah. I mean, that's always kind of been my thing, is like, whenever a challenge is presented to me, I always try to rise to the occasion and bring my A+ game to any scenario. And I mean, like, even my own fucking music, dude. I remember 2 years ago you asked me to do a Dunlop performance, and I was like, fuck, I have to learn my stuff in a week. And it's like, even listening to my own stuff, I'm like, I can't play that.
That's part of the interesting part of being in this day and age too, right? Because so many, especially solo guitar players that are putting out solo records, it's really great because it empowers you to be able to sit in the studio and put it all together yourself, piece it together how you want, have a guest here, have a guest there if you want,
Always
or
fun.
not. Like,
I go both routes.
Yeah, go both routes, but you stack and layer and do these things, and you create these great soundscapes. But the kind of the fallback thing is that you didn't spend all that time in a room with 4 other people that were trying to remember and rehearse the thing too.
Yeah.
And so there's not a collective village muscle memory.
No.
It's all on you. You have to go back and go, maybe open the session and go, oh shit.
Yeah, what did I
was
do?
I in an alternate tuning that?
Yeah.
Did I just do that on one track on the part, pan it to the left? Oh,
dude.
okay.
And I'm even worse about it, because my whole writing philosophy is just so off the cuff. So all of my solos are improv. A lot of my riffing for the songs themselves are improv. I'll just sit there and be like, ooh, I'm feeling one of these kind of things. I track an idea and it ends up being, no, that's the take. I like that. One of my biggest philosophies when it comes to writing is capturing something in the moment, not perfection. I feel like perfection is garbage and it throws everything off. So I'm a huge fan of like humanized takes. You'll hear fuck ups in my stuff constantly, and I find that to be endearing personally. And it allows a little bit of realness and a different type of passion, I think, to come through the music, and you can say something different with it. So that's a huge part of my thing, is like off the cuff improv moments that I'm like, oh, what did I do? What accidental note why did I do that? Okay, let's do that again.
I think that's part of when you're open to that and you practice being open to that, then that's like what you're essentially practicing is being open to a flow state.
Yes.
Right. And
that's
so
my whole thing.
Right. And so and I think that's more or less most people that are, I don't say most people, there's a lot of people that are in the perfection game. Okay.
Yeah.
So like I can't really put everybody, but I think a lot of the greater players that I maybe look up to, you being one of them as well, that do practice that, are such an inspiration, because you're practicing not knowing and being open to what needs to be played in this moment.
Yes.
All right. And that's a more difficult thing than it sounds. It's like some people would be like, oh, that's fine. You know, like, of course you're going to play the thing that comes.
Right.
But being able to be cohesive and have a sense of cohesion while drawing from the ethers and not trying to do the same thing you kind of know you can do.
Yeah.
That's a delicate art.
It's a weird thing to tune into. It's a very weird thing. I always talk about the muse like a weirdo, but I always find myself just priming my mental state to be able to communicate with the muse, even if it's just whispering in my ear. I want to be able to hear what she's saying so I could like channel that. Like I personally don't feel like any of the shit that I say, play, or do is mine. I feel like it's something that comes through. And I think that's what being my type of musician is about. There's many types of musicians, but what I'm striving to be is in touch with that.
I love that.
Yeah.
In a much, in my own way, I too. Yeah. I agree.
Yeah.
And that's what I shoot for, or I wish for. I was just listening this morning before you got here to your last record, your solo record.
Thank you, dude.
And I was reminded of one of the things that I think I told you early on, that I was like, oh, you kind of remind me of this guy James Murphy.
Yes.
Who's one of my all-time favorite guitar players. And you're like, who? And I'm like, oh, so check this dude out.
Yes.
And it's interesting because I still hear it, but I also, to me, if I had to like describe you to somebody else, I would say a few of the little things that I really love about James Murphy's like trem work and like and legato, and then some of the kind of more expressive moments of like Trey Azagthoth. Like where he kind of makes there's like a death metal weep that he has that you have that you like can make this like weeping like I don't know, it's like there's a couple of them that I hear it and I'm like, oh, I really, and I can almost assume that like that comes from practicing that state of expression.
Yeah.
That you maybe it's not a technical thing that you're kind of doing there.
It's a feeling.
It's a feeling. It's an expressive.
Yeah.
It's like a emotive quality from deep within that can't probably have the finger put on it exactly.
It's a very weird thing, man. I mean, as a guitar teacher, I'm contacted constantly by people who want to work on trem work, and it's a very weird thing to teach.
Ooh,
it's a weird world of guitar playing, and I find that for me personally, nothing that I'm doing on the guitar is me trying to sound like a guitar. I think everything that I do is emulating horns and voice. That seems to be what I was like. I was drawn to that as a kid. Just hearing a bunch, Miles Davis or listening to, Coltrane or fucking Thelonious Monk or any old stuff that I grew up on in the jazz realm, because my dad and my mom were very big in that. Really penetrated deep into my mind early on to where like I didn't even want to sound like a guitar player. It was a weird, and like some of my biggest influences are like Lane Staley and Chris Cornell as a guitar player.
Love it. Love it. It's interesting that you say that. Now I'll probably end up saying this a lot on the podcast with different people, but I think one of my favorite pieces of advice I ever got was when I was in school for music. I did this little 2-year thing up at Shoreline Community College outside of Seattle, and my jazz improv teacher, he was trying to get to know me over a couple of classes, and he's like, so trying to like understand like what is it that you want to do, and I said, well, I mean, I want to be a good metal player, and it's like I'm in a metal band, that's what I'm doing. And he's like, okay, all right, so if you want to do that good, stop listening to metal music. He's like, listen to almost anything other than that, and listen to other instruments, because it's so easy to get into the echo chamber of like, and it's okay to love a Metallica riff. It's okay to be wooed by your favorite Pantera song or what Meshuggah, anything that is like your hype.
Right.
That's cool. That's great. Draw inspiration. Draw the energetic inspiration from that. But then go and get your melodic content elsewhere, because if you're looking for originality, if you're looking for some experience,
your own voice.
Yeah, if you're looking for your own thing,
yeah,
you have to kind of almost look outside of your genre specific thing, because otherwise you'll find yourself being that person that goes, oh, I'm a big Dimebag fan, so like all my riffs kind of it's cool, and there's nothing wrong with that.
No,
there's all of us are to some degree, but
I think when it's super on the surface and really citable, I find that I am personally less intrigued by the musician. I always like having to sift through to find things. Like one of my favorite things that I think my first guitar teacher told me was look for the influences of my influences, which is a very twisted thought, and it makes you kind of have to like dig through stuff. What did they love? Go read some biographies when they're talking about what they listened to as a kid. But another interesting thing that I stumbled on to help kind of define my own unique voice, which is something that I talk to my students about, is I'll ask this series of questions effectively like, what are your favorite genres? What are your favorite bands in all of those genres? What are your favorite guitarists from those bands? And then the people are like, oh, I see what you're doing. And then in my mind, I'm like, you have no fucking idea what I'm getting you to get to, right?
Yeah.
And they think that that's the end all be all. And then I'm like, all right, what is your favorite non-guitarist from those bands? And then what is your favorite vocalist? And then like, did you ever see that South Park episode where they flip the food pyramid upside down?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I do remember that.
That concept, I go, all right, well, where you think the genre is the most important thing, then the bands, then guitarists, let's flip the whole thing on its head. I want you to focus on the vocalists, then the non-instrument or non-guitars, and then you can think about everything else as supplemental. So typically, like for me, it's as far as vocalists go, it's like Maynard, Chris Cornell, and probably Lane Staley. Maynard, he does something called melisma a lot of slurring.
Interesting. I've never heard that word.
Yeah,
melisma.
Yeah, it's the way he like elevates into a note. He doesn't just go like he'll go
slides into it.
It's like a slur. So it's very. I do that with my whammy all the time. You'll hear me come from underneath and like not hit it on the beat.
Something you could do with the trombone type of something that you
exactly.
Yeah,
it's very. It needs to be manipulated by wind, by air. You know, it's the human aspect. So that's my Maynard thing, and then also his like richness, just in his tone.
Sure.
And then Chris Cornell's power.
Oh my God.
Right,
Yeah.
just he hits a note and it just makes you like want to fucking cry and cream your pants at the same time, right?
Yep.
And then Lane, that's my vibrato on the guitar is Lane's voice,
Okay.
right?
That makes sense to me.
And then it's very, very interesting actually. Speaking on the vibrato discussion, I was contacted towards the end of my being in As Blood Runs Black, right when I was starting doing my solo career stuff, and a dude hit me up saying that he did not a dissertation, but a paper on me for his music college because he was asked to study one person's vibrato, and for some fucking reason he chose me, which made me just laugh and feel weird about it at the same time. But it was really cool, right?
Yeah, that's very cool.
And he determined that I'm doing a reverse Italian operatic vibrato.
Okay. Sure.
Right? Which is very interesting. But if you think about it, an opera singer is going to do, I can't sing for shit, but it's like it starts really fast and then slows down.
Okay.
Wait, I'm saying that backwards. Hold on. Yes.
Starts wide
it
and
starts,
goes narrow?
Not in terms of the depth, in terms of the rate of the vibrato.
Right. Okay.
And the way that I think about vibrato is rate plus depth over time.
Okay.
So like, and this brings in the whole idea of meter vibrato. Have you heard of that before?
Nope.
Meter vibrato is like if you have this as your meter, that's the time part. So rate is how fast it's going in relation to that, and then depth is how deep it is. So I could go right? Like I could go from quarter to triplet to eighth back to triplet.
I see.
And that's all a way to just emulate the vibrato and make that happen. But yeah, this guy basically found that I'm doing the opposite of what Italian opera singers do. I start really slow and I'm like playing there and then it ramps up at the very end. So it makes it like
That's cool.
If I had a guitar, I'd show you what I'm talking about.
Sure.
But
we've got a few here. But.
Yeah, it's not like we're surrounded by them.
Yeah.
But it's just an interesting thing when someone else kind of pinpoints something that you do, and it makes me just go like, holy shit, where did that come from? Why am I doing that?
Yeah.
And that to me is the epitome of taking your influences and throwing them in a mixed pot, stirring them with your ingredients,
Yeah.
and walking away with something semi-unique.
Well, that's it's also kind of just your approach lends me to be in like a state of wonderment just in general, because I love that I had some associations that you wouldn't necessarily associate with yourself, and here's this other guy that comes at you and says, hey, this is like this reverse Italian opera thing. You're like, yeah,
What?
I didn't study any of that.
No.
I'm just kind of going for what feels cool, what feels right, and you can compare me to whatever, but like, I don't know.
Yeah.
You know, I'm just expressing over here.
Just doing me. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like if someone says that like, ooh, your laugh reminds me of Seth Rogen. It's
Yeah.
like, who's that?
Yeah. I don't, yeah. Exactly. Cool. All right.
Yeah.
It's like, you remind me of just like a dude that I know.
Yeah.
You're like,
I don't know that guy.
know that
Yeah.
guy. Yeah. He's not my
thank
brother,
you.
but
Yeah.
doppelgangers, I guess.
I hope he's also ugly, so that's good.
It's good for him.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Good for him.
Apologies.
Yeah. Whoops.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's something very powerful, I think, about coming up with or like a game plan of how to come up with your unique voice. And like I've been very much about that as a guitar player. I'm super nerdy in that sense, where I like to dive deep into myself. I don't ever, and I'm going to state this for everybody, I never learn other people's music. Since the beginning of time, since
I mean, because you've been around at least that long.
For aeons.
I mean, billions of years ago, you were a Big Bang, bro.
I am.
And now you're Dan.
Yeah, I am the singularity. This
So that's
is true.
interesting.
Yeah. You heard it here.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just Jesus. Since I picked up the guitar, that's been my go-to, is just trying to come up with something unique. So it's just always fun to have outside perspectives on how you got there.
Yeah.
And then being able to be like the nerd that I am, go in, be introspective and figure out what it is so I could help other people find that is something that I'm a large fan of.
It's awesome. I identify with that too.
Yeah.
I've never really had the the attention span to like sit there, and I would start to learn a Kirk Hammett solo, and I'm like, because part of me says, oh, this is what I'm supposed to do. I'm supposed to do that, or I'm supposed to learn Dimebag. I'm supposed to learn something that I really love because I love listening to it. But it's like I would get like just a part of the way into it. I'm like, but then I've been learning technique, but I'm gonna spend all this time doing this thing that to me doesn't move me forward in the way that I want to be moved forward. So the technique part of it is like the catch, right? Like I know that there's tons of techniques I have no clue about, haven't pushed into because I didn't learn those particular styles or, melodic content, So like, but I've also seen so many players that did do that, and then it's almost they can't almost write. They have to rewrite those solos all the time.
Yeah,
and I'm like, oh, see, that's the thing I didn't want to do, and whatever. There's all the different. There's every way to your own bliss, and if your bliss is that, then there's nothing wrong with that. But there's
definitely something in. I'm sitting here thinking like how, because Dimebag was fucking massive for me, Metallica in the beginning was massive for me. So was Iron Maiden. Like there's a bunch of bands that started me out, but I think what I focused on was unintentionally learning through osmosis. So I could capture or siphon off feelings.
Yep.
And then learn to articulate that myself, as opposed to like that one riff and I'm going to just change this note and no one will know. You know what I mean? Like I'd rather stumble on that through my own pain and trials and tribulations, because it's going to say something at the end, you know what I mean?
Of course.
And I think the osmosis thing was a big part for me, just being around it or watching the way they move their hands, as opposed to where's the Guitar World video where he's explaining how he moves his hands?
Where's the tabs?
Yeah. I want to be able to just pick it up. I was, whenever I was seeing a guitar player I loved, I would always get as close as I could to him on stage, watch the tiniest details in his hands, because that's what I was interested in. The efficiency and the way that they got there, more so than like how they think they did.
Yeah. No, I agree. And I love studying just the little things, like how are they holding the guitar? How does the guitar look like it feels on them?
Yeah.
Because it's not something you can kind of completely answer.
Yeah.
But like when you see somebody holds it up close, holds it down low, holds it in the medium place, swings it this way, has this shape of a guitar, has this type of strap, like all these different things. The pick
makes you wonder.
That's something I want to talk to you about.
I was actually about to do that. That's really funny.
I want to know. Tell me your history about guitar picks, because that's what I feel like is the unspoken story that this podcast is based around.
Absolutely.
Is origin story. Like, do you remember your first guitar pick or first guitar picks? Who gave them to you? And then like, what was your evolution? Did you kind of move through a few different things before you got to where you're at now?
Yeah. So I have an interesting history, I guess, or an interesting series of events that connect, sort of. When I was 5 or so, I was obsessed with the guitar already. My mom, since I was like a little kid, around that age, was always telling me I had guitar player hands.
Whoa.
Which is a very weird thing, right?
Yeah.
And she had a classical guitar in the house, and she couldn't play. And it was something that I would just like pick up and be like strumming, playing garbage on. And they got me a couple lessons when I was about 5 or 6, and I fucking hated it.
Really?
I fucking hated it.
Oh.
Yeah, so I quit. I like swore off the guitar forever. And then I actually remember very distinctly one of those celluloid, really thin tortoiseshell Fender picks.
Yep.
That was, I think, probably my first pick. Probably lost it immediately. That pick is garbage, but they're like the prime quintessential starting pick. You know what I mean?
Before you quit that first time, you remember picks during that era?
I definitely remember the celluloid pick for sure.
Yeah.
And then when I was 13, for my bar mitzvah, I was getting into music again, and all of my uncles, who are all musicians, they all chipped in and got me a Gibson SG.
Whoa.
Which is like, what a Jew move, right? First guitar, get a fucking badass Gibson. And they got me a bunch of, let me get the colors straight. Green Tortex?
Uh-huh.
Is it like an 88?
Yeah, it's 88.
And then was blue and then purple?
Yep.
Okay, so that was my evolution for a few years, as I was like, green Tortex for life.
Mm-hmm.
And then somewhere along the way, I think I got into punk and was like, nah, this is not aggressive enough. I need something thicker. And then I got into the blue Tortex. And I started to discover that, like, if you rub the edge on like a carpet, you could change the shape of a pick.
Totally.
So I started making sharps myself, and I would take scissors and like score. I was going to score them, so I could like have more grip.
Yep.
I was basically making like the flow to be is really what it was.
Yeah.
And then I started getting metal kind of more into my blood, and I was like purples for sure.
Sure.
which is what, like a 1.2, 1.2?
So 1.14.
1.14. Yeah, that sounds about right.
Yep.
I remember that specifically. So I did that for years in my first band, Fallen Figure, when we were a local band. And then we started doing some small touring. We would go to like New Mexico or Arizona or Vegas or something like that. And when we were in New Mexico, we were playing at the Gathering of the Sick Fest, which is, for anyone who was in the scene, it was like a really, really cool festival. Like we played with Fit for an Autopsy and Burning the Masses 10 years ago.
Wow.
Before any band was a thing, right?
Right.
I think Anal Cunt played that show as well.
Oh my God,
yeah.
AC, dude.
Yeah.
I remember. Dude, my brother showed me that band, and I was just like, what
is this?
Songs are not even 30 seconds. And it was like right after I found them, like it was the next album that came out that Phil Anselmo was on a song.
Oh, yeah.
And I was like, well, I guess if Phil likes them, I guess they're pretty
yeah.
badass.
Phil approved, yeah. Yeah, dude, it's good. It's a good time in music, man. When a band like that would play like a local festival, it was really fucking powerful for everybody else.
Yeah.
But this dude named Tim, I'm failing to remember his last name. He came up to me at that show, and he worked for Dava Picks.
Okay.
And he we had played New Mexico several times because we'd done the festival for a few years in a row. And he came up to me with a giant bag of just Dava picks and was like, check these out. We'd love to work with you. We see you come through here all the time. We love your guys' band.
Sick.
And I sat through all those picks, and I found that I loved the Rock Control Delrins, which was like, I don't know if you remember the name of those, but it has like a little divot in the center and a little bit of a grip. And depending on where you hold the pick, you have every gauge you need, depending on where you choke up on the pick.
No, I don't know.
It was a very, very weird concept at the time, and I, at first, was very put off by it, and then after like trying to get used to it, I accidentally did, and I couldn't play anything else.
Yeah.
It was one of those things where it's like, pick your poison, and that's it. You know what I mean? So I was playing the Davas for probably a decade.
Yeah, you were playing Dava when I first met you.
Yeah, I was hardcore. Like, if anyone gave me a pick, I'd be like, nah, but do you want one of these?
Yeah.
Every fucking time. I was like an ambassador for that, right?
Yeah.
And then, lo and behold, you and I connect a couple years ago, and you hooked me up with some picks to try out, and the flow, dude, changed my life. Nice. I cannot, at this point, that's my poison. I can't play anything else. Mm-hmm. It makes my playing better. It makes me feel like I'm playing better. My tone is better. It's a very, very unique thing. And the evolution of the pick going from like thin ass garbage to what like
2.0
2.0, yeah. I just lent this one of these picks to my brother's or my sister's girlfriend. My sister's brother. Oh God.
Wait.
Words. Yeah, that was confusing. My brother's sister's brother boyfriend. No, my sister's brother, who's a guitar player for I Set to Kill.
Your sister's brother.
My girlfriend's brother. Did I say that wrong again? Dude, I'm gonna...
I was like, if
fuck
it's
words.
Your sister's brother...
I don't have a sister. I've never even said my sister. What the fuck?
It's okay, man.
My girlfriend's brother needed a pick the other day, and I lent him this 2.0, and he's like... He literally couldn't play, dropped it, and finished the set with his hand.
Whoa.
It was one of those things where he was like, dude, that was like, I'm not a bass player. And I was like, dude, that's what you need to be doing. They're the best.
That's an interesting thing that's being undone in the minds of guitar players. Is like, it's been in the artisan market for a long time with like Gravity and a lot of people making these bigger, thicker plectrums, Huffschmidt and, Gravity and a bunch of different people. But a lot up until like the flow. I mean, we've done some bigger stuff at Dunlop before, but it was never as popular as it is now. And it's like with a guy like Petrucci and Andy James jumping behind 2.0s. Yeah, everybody's like, wait, those aren't bass picks. Like in my mind, that's what you would need, but
I don't know what it is. There's something about like this distance between the pick. It makes me feel like I have to squeeze less. Something about the way that it cuts through the strings is just like
that bevel.
It's just so much better. Yeah, and the way it's beveled too. I was looking at the tip compared to the picks I used to use, and it's like more like a ballpoint pen the way the tip is, and it just like it flows. It really freaking flows. That's what it does.
Yeah, Jimmy Dunlop is good at naming things too, as well as making great picks.
Yes.
Yeah, that's one of the funny things about about working for him is like he had that name on a whiteboard for like months, and we went through probably. He's like, I'm gonna make I got this idea that we're gonna make this next generation of picks. Sick. Right? And I'm like, okay, cool. Like he had like 5 or 6 different shapes. He every other day, what about this? Here, shred on this. Here, shred on that. Shred on this. And I would be like, oh, this one's kind of cool, but like, I don't know, it's a little sticky. I don't know, that one's kind of cool. And it was, the shapes didn't look anything like what we have now.
Interesting.
And then it was Andy James.
Yeah.
Like that. He was like, hey, mate, I really need this. I used to love those 208s, those jazz tones. And it's a jazz tone shape, right?
Yeah.
Like, but they were always made in polycarbonate. And they were never made in Ultem. And he's like, make this one in Ultem for me, and maybe that'll be the thing. I'm like, all right. And then he just handed it to Petrucci, and Petrucci's like, that's maybe I can't play my picks anymore. Like, you messed me up.
Yeah.
Like they were in the UK. Andy literally had to drive like to the next city to give him a bag of his picks so that Petrucci could finish the tour.
That's incredible.
Which is a funny story because Andy's like, oh my God, like Petrucci needs my picks.
Dude,
like,
that's insane.
I'll be there on the double.
Yeah.
You know, like what an honor to
Truly.
to show up for the man in that way. And then it just kind of snowballed from there. And it was like once those two had their picks, Jimmy's like, yeah, I think this is what we've been looking for.
Yeah.
Like these two guys, and let's make all the gauges. I'm like, yeah. And so then like the 73, 88s, 1.0, all that stuff came in.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm happy with all of it.
Dude, they're incredible picks. I mean, like I was saying before, my tone is different, playing different, feels different. Mm-hmm. It's just all around easier.
You ever you have any interesting moments that you can think of around a guitar pick on stage or off stage or with a student or anything like that? Like, just curious.
I mean, on this tour, almost every day, like this probably just comes from me cutting my teeth as like a salesman-y kind of guy. But whenever people would come up to me and ask for a pick, I'm going to sit there and be like, I use this pick because this, and this. Mm-hmm. Check this out and hit me up on Instagram and let me know what you think.
Sure.
And I'm doing that every day with the flow picks.
Awesome.
Every freaking day. And I've had a bunch of people hit me up saying they bought a couple packs.
Nice.
And like to me, it's about spreading the good word,
Yeah.
Good word of the pick lord.
Yeah.
That to me, I mean, there's nothing better than turning somebody on to something new that's going to help make things easier or more fun or just flow better.
Yeah. Well, that's great information. It's cool to know that. Again, it's always cool for me to understand that because I feel like so often the best information we get about an artist's picks is like, yeah, I play these anyway. So you see my guitar, you see my amp, you see my I don't ever know why.
Yeah,
I don't know like where you come from with that and like how'd you get to that place because it's not necessarily a straight line to get to a 2.0 flow pick. From that Fender celluloid.
Yeah, so. Not at all. And I mean, I can recall all along the way of me just going through my pick evolution, people trying to like infuse the jazz pick. Mm-hmm. And that to me was like the ultimate no for me personally. Like whenever I picked up a jazz pick, my tone was shit, accidentally pitch harmonics, feeling uncomfortable, feeling like it wasn't in a flow state.
Too small,
man. Yep. Size matters.
Yeah, it does, bro. It does.
It does. And I feel like, just knowing what you like and being willing to sift through the bullshit to find something a little bit different, being willing to be open, I feel like that's an incredible path to put yourself down.
100%.
And even if it's just about picks, it's only going to open you up to life in one way or another.
Yeah. That's rad.
Yeah,
Thanks for sharing.
Absolutely. Flow picks for life.
I know we've already started touching on kind of philosophical content here as we opened up, but I'm also like just in general curious, especially with you because we share a lot of similarities in the way we kind of attempt to approach life. Mm-hmm. But I'm curious, like, do you have a formula for your success or your like quote unquote happiness? Like how do you stay balanced? Like what's your vibe like that when it comes to that? Like in anything you can share, it could be a daily routine or
I mean
thought process.
There's a lot of processes in my life that I feel like are very integral to anything that I do, but one of the more important things I find is my mental state. And I have been known to put like 3 to 5 hours in the very front of my day before I even look at my phone of just like, I'll wake up, the first thing I do is go take a cold shower. Then I'll walk my dog for as long as I can, maybe listen to a podcast and put some good information in my head. Then I'll get home and do a little workout and get a sweat on. Then I will immediately begin to meditate for as long as I possibly can. Then I'll do a little bit of Xingyi, which I've spoken to you slightly about.
Tell me a little more about that.
So Xingyi is like a 2,000 plus year old internal martial art from China, from pre-communist China. And it's it being an internal martial art makes it a little bit different. I'm sure a lot of the listeners have probably heard of Tai Chi. I know you probably have.
Totally.
Tai Chi is in the same family as Xingyi. So it's Tai Chi is in the realm of this discussion, and the way that we talk about it in that world is called the rubber ball, as far as metaphors go. And if you punch the rubber ball, it's going to reflect exactly what you put into it. And then the next level above that is Bagua, which was the foot soldiers' internal martial art in pre-communist China. Oh, the civilians were doing Tai Chi. That was like their main thing. And then the foot soldiers are doing Bagua, and the metaphor for that is the wire ball. If you punch it, you get tangled, which is an interesting concept.
Okay.
And then a step above that is Xingyi, which was reserved for generals only, which is really gnarly. And I'll tell you a little bit of the history of how it came into my life. Sure. But the metaphor for that is the iron ball. If you punch it, you break your fucking fist.
Whoa.
Yeah, so it's like the premise of Xingyi is attack the attack. And it sounds very violent, and it can be, but it also completely realigned everything in my body. Like before I started Xingyi, I was 330 pounds.
What?
Within 6 months, I lost over 100 pounds.
Wow, Dan.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
And you attribute it all to this
100%.
practice?
Yeah, 100%. Through that, I was going to my Uncle Stu's house, who is my teacher, and he is obsessed with ice cream as well and eating really fucking well. So every day it'd be like barbecue, ice cream, smoke a fuckload of weed, do Xingyi. So there's no way I was eating healthier. You know what I'm saying?
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
It literally felt like before I used the word aligned, it literally felt like my energy or my chi or my just whatever I'm supposed to be was being like revealed. If that makes any kind of sense.
It's like coming in contact or coming into sensitivity with like your most basic primal energetic qualities, or is
there is a little bit of that, but what's even more nuts to me about Xingyi specifically is it's like breathe deeply into your kidneys, and then you go, wait, what? And then you put your hands on my uncle's back and his kidneys inflate. And it's like, what the fuck? Or he's like, exhale through your palm, and you go, what? And then you put your hand in front of his palm and you feel heat coming out of his hand.
You feel energetic quality pulsing out.
Absolutely. So, I mean, my mind is all over and trying to just like catch anyone up to like how crazy this sounds, because I know I'm saying a lot of words like chi and energy and shit. But my uncle's teacher, Sifu Kenny Gong, anyone who's listening to this can look him up on YouTube and find some really cool videos from the 70s of him just fucking destroying it. He was the kind of guy who could start a fire with his hands. Wow. Yeah, my uncle saw it in person. All of my uncle's family has like healing miracle stories.
Yeah.
To be a Sifu means you need to be a it means father teacher, and to be a Sifu you need to be a master of mind, body, and medicine. So Sifu was a fucking healer.
Yeah. And
he was also an unbelievable fighter. There's tons of stories that my uncle has told me. He passed away. I never got to meet him. But my uncle is, keeping his legacy alive. Absolutely. But there's, no reason it should be in my life other than the fact that when Sifu Kenny Gong was living in pre-communist China, a general was in hiding in his backyard. And Sifu Kenny Gong, not Sifu at this time, probably not even named Kenny, let's be honest. He was bringing porridge or something like that to feed this guy. He was walking into his backyard and giving this guy food, and to say thank you, this general broke all of the rules of Xingyi, which is you need to be 18 or older, you can only teach it to a nephew, and you need to be a general.
Whoa.
So he broke all the lineage rules.
Very narrow way of being able to pass that.
Exactly.
Down,
so Kenny Gong became a master of Xingyi by the time he was 18, and started traveling all around China to learn from other masters and paying them to learn from them. And the story that I've heard goes that they would return the money and ask to learn from him, which is very interesting.
Whoa.
and he moved to America around like age 25 or 30. It was in the 70s, and my uncle, who was just a really sick, scrawny redhead Jew, always fucking sick, like tons of body problems, tons of stuff like that, just met him on the street, and Kenny invited him to his place of work and study, and my uncle started learning from him and became one of the best students he had.
Amazing.
And my uncle is a absolute miracle. He was diagnosed with multiple sclerosis many years ago. He's supposed to be dead right now. And they found him with 7 lesions on his brain, which is what MS does.
Yeah.
And he went into a Shingi meditative state for about a month and healed himself. They went back and got a brain scan, and they were all gone. And he's still alive. This is like 15 years ago. That's
so incredible. I really do believe in this, the mind over matter scenario, and I know that there's multiple different practices from around the world that have kind of encapsulated this, but this is like maybe one of the least known forms of this that I've ever heard of. You know,
I've never heard of Shingi until my uncle.
Yeah, you're the first guy, and I'm in yoga, I'm in like meditation, almost full time, all the time, but I don't hear that.
Yeah.
You know, I've heard a lot about Tai Chi and Kung Fu and all the other stuff.
Yeah. I mean, Tai Chi is its famous
counterpart.
Yeah, well, it's literally like the child of it, if you think about it, almost like twice removed to a certain extent, because it gets watered down every step it goes.
Sure.
And I know this almost sounds like me being extremely fucking pretentious about how cool Shingi is, but in all honesty, it was forced into my life. I don't know any of the other shit. All I know is that everything that comes after it is a distillation of what Shingi is in its purest form. So I'm just honored and lucky that it like fell into my life, that my uncle is who he is. He's a great teacher.
Damn.
He's a famous actor, best pianist I've ever heard in my life. He learned from Lenny Tristano.
Don't know.
Lenny Tristano was taught Joe Satriani.
Okay.
He was a piano teacher who taught Joe Satriani everything he knows about music. My uncle learned when he was 13 from this guy.
Damn.
Yeah, and fucking was the professor at his music college when he went to be a student. They were like, "Could you teach instead?" Kind of thing. Yeah, my uncle is like an unbelievable human being.
Where's he based?
Marina Del Rey.
Okay.
Yeah.
So he's not that far out.
Not at all. No.
Okay. Maybe I get to meet him sometime.
Absolutely, you would enjoy the shit out of him.
Yeah, that would be.
He would enjoy the shit out of you too.
Yeah. Wow, that is exciting. And is there like any type of because of the way it's passed down? Is does that inhibit it actually having a formal like center or studio where it's taught?
Not necessarily.
Or is it
my uncle got the blessing after when Sifu Kenigang was passing away. He got the blessing to completely move forward with it and teach as many people as he can. That was kind of like Kenny's mission.
Wow.
Sifu's mission was to spread it in America and help people, because it's like what it did to me, what it's done to my uncle. Like I was saying, every one of my family members has like a miraculous healing story that Sifu did. My mom shattered her pinky once when she was a girl, and Sifu just rubbed it and healed it. Like, what the fuck? And my mom doesn't lie about that shit.
Well, that's so I mean, again, I would say that like there's this falls right in line with the theory, like the kind of universal theories of like all things being energy.
Yes.
Right. All things you know, how you see and perceive things based on your conditioning isn't necessarily the truth.
No.
Like that's just how you're projecting on this particular state you find yourself in, and as you're able to like, I'd imagine, kind of break down the veils of like conditioning and return to a more original state.
That's
right. Like
that's exactly what it felt like to me.
Of your energetic quality, that you can come in contact with the ability to guide that energy into healing and. Because there's a guy, what's his? It's gonna piss me off that I don't know his name now, but it's "You Are the Placebo" is the name of one of his books, and he's got like 5 or 6 books. Dr. Joe Dispenza.
I've heard that name.
Yeah, so he's on that level. He's a chiropractor that was out riding his bike. He was in a race, like he used to do these road bike races, and in the race, he got directed to go ahead and make a turn by like somebody, and that person didn't know that there was a car coming, and he got rear-ended by like a car, like a pace car type thing for the bike race, and he broke his spine and like all these different things, right? And this is a chiropractor that knows all about this stuff. And when he came to and was kind of faced with decisions in the hospital, he had been told that there was no way that he couldn't do surgery. Like, he had to do surgery. There was all these different shattered things going on along the spinal column. And he said, like, give me some space and to think about it. Because he also chiropractors are notorious for, like, I don't necessarily need surgery. Like, they're always trying to get out of surgery and try to do things kind of in a natural way. At least the best ones are. And he made the decision to just meditate his way through it.
Wow.
He healed his spine in like 8 or 11 weeks or something like that. Was walking,
shattered spine,
did everything, all the things that they said that was not possible without surgery, and that even if he got surgery, he wouldn't necessarily be able to do, which I actually believe more of, that you get the surgery, you cut into the thing, you don't allow the energy that created the body to heal the body, then you interfere in a weird way, and like you kind of screw it up.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I don't know, just another kind of offshoot concept or thought.
No, I mean, it totally makes sense, and it's completely in line. And I mean, all of the energetic stuff that you're talking about right now is exactly what I bring into guitar playing, into performance, into writing. Like, that stuff to me is what this is about, is trying to find a way to like align with that and project it in a performance. You want everyone to be just sucked into whatever that is. And I mean, some of the best shows that I've ever been to, the room changes, the electricity in the air changes. You know what I mean? Yeah. And it's infectious, and you walk away thinking like, what the fuck did I just witness? Like, I need more of that. I need to create that myself. And those things to me are exactly why we're probably both sitting right here. You know what I'm saying?
Totally.
It is the most powerful shit.
I have to think about like guitarists that I've seen that like I feel utilize that, but maybe not had the type of labels. Most likely didn't have the type of labels that we're attributing to what we're trying to point at. Like, I would say Dime was definitely one of those guys that had, and again, it's kind of just that's why it's easier to say flow state.
I was about to say, to me, it's just flow state,
right? Because there's that thing, but like, as soon as you want a label or go, oh, I'm in a flow, you're not in a flow state anymore. So it's the thing. It's one of the harder things to convey, because it's not a doing, it's an actual letting go. And I think that also probably parlays into the Shin Yi,
absolutely,
that is like not trying to grasp probably so much and trying to like forcefully do a thing. It's more about like what is present and how can I allow it to flow into the right direction. Can I maybe favor it this direction?
It's so ironic you're saying these words, because the way we talk about it is being consumed in doing rather than being. And to me, that's what a performance is, or that's what playing guitar, that's what writing in your flow state is just being fully there as being, and not consumed in what am I doing, why am I doing, what should I do. Just fucking be. And that shit will come out of you in the purest, most non-confrontational, non-aggressive way possible. It just is. And I think there's something to be said about the flip side of that. Like walking into seeing a show where like the just electricity in the air changes in the good way. I'm sure you've seen ones go the opposite way too.
Totally.
Everything, there's 5 different problems on stage. Vocalist is losing his mind. Audience isn't participating. Like all of these things. Like, I think it has to do with being in the opposite of the flow state, or the negative version of that.
Maybe and maybe the extreme opposite is something like a try hard situation, right? Like it's like, and you see this in our environment, in the realm of players and bands and achievers in the creative space that we both kind of are in this similar circle. That there are those that like, and you almost kind of have to be a try hard in the beginning. Like, that's part of the deal, right? Yeah. Because somebody somewhere along the line taught you to do push-ups, and then you saw your chest get a little bigger, and you're like, so I do, so I get bigger, so I'm stronger, so I'm smart, so I know the answers. So everything is about, like, just asserting my will on the environment. to get what it is I want.
Yes.
Now because there's a certain amount of like potentially like measurable success, quote unquote success, that can come from asserting oneself. That's why we have like the Wall Streeters. That's why we have the big banks. That's why we have like the unfortunate state of events in politics. Mostly is because it's power over. I'm going to assert myself over.
Yes.
And try to swing things through my will. Because if I don't do it, then it's apathy, right? Because like we've been lied to, right?
Yeah.
Like there's an element. So that side of it has created such a conundrum for the rest of us that it just would rather like try to get in the flow of things. And so, you know, and I don't think that you can necessarily be one way or the other. There's definitely a balancing point.
Yeah.
Right. But if underlying all you're doing is an allowing, I think you're probably at your best state.
Absolutely.
You know,
this discussion too is bringing up something that I talk a lot about, which is effectively practice mindset versus performance mindset. Everything that we're talking about, try hard, that whole like, you know, forcing your will, that's what practice is for. I think practice is a place for high expectation and a place for you to fall short of those expectations privately and be like, tomorrow, that's my bitch. I'm going to make this happen. And the second you step on stage, drop all expectation, stop worrying about doing, and things shift for the better in my personal experience.
Yeah.
And just the lowering or dropping of expectation, for me, was my biggest lesson. Because I used to like, I can specifically remember a time when I was in As Blood Runs Black. We were on tour in China, and an amp was brought for me to use. Or I should rephrase. They brought like 5 in the end because it just none of them were working. They'd have to get another one, and I was getting so fucking mad that my band literally pulled me aside, and they were like, "Dude, you're like making us look really bad right now. You're making us look like assholes because you're so angry about no amp."
Yeah.
And I'm like in my mind justifying it like, "Well, I'm fucking here. I should have a working amp. What the fuck?"
Yeah.
And the second I calmed down, the first amp worked. You know, and it was just immediately like a smack in the face, punch in the balls, and I learned a very big lesson that day. And it's really just like, once you're there for performance, just be. Yeah. Just be there. Just be willing to accept and allow things to happen, and be there as, you know, in service to everyone else coming to see something entertaining and have fun. Adaptability, yeah. And that's something that I had to learn in the midst of being in an environment that was not conducive to adapting, you know?
That's a good story because, like, I recently, I mean, moving here to LA has been a bit of a challenge. I lived in Sonoma County on the edge of
beautiful
Santa Rosa, 40 minutes from this amazing coastline, which is a lot of that is here, but it's, you know, what's in between here and there.
Yeah.
It's like from Hollywood to Santa Monica or Malibu, whatever. There's a lot of, you know, a lot of other obstacles, and it's not as beautiful of a drive.
No,
it's a different thing. Not greater or worse. I prefer the, you know, like the beautiful redwoods as I'm right.
Oh my God,
the whole deal. But I found life kind of challenging me, you know, in an interesting way. As soon as I showed up here, both through the kinetic energy of like having so many more people around me, like, in addition to roommates, and the neighborhood is more chaotic and crazy, and like there's just a lot of things going on.
Dude, LA is consumed in doing.
Yeah.
Other places, like where you're from,
a little more being.
Yes,
yeah, you know,
absolutely.
I mean, the Bay has got its own. Everywhere's got its thing, but I would just try to like riff off of the concept of like stressing out and having actual muscle contractions and getting stressed out, like where your forehead like comes together, your jaw clenches a little bit, you want to like muscle through it. You want to like yell at somebody and say, "Look, motherfucker, this is how it should be. Don't you know who I am?
I think I am."
Yeah, exactly. Who I think I am. Yeah, exactly. And like, you can't treat me like this. My amp is supposed to work.
Yeah.
Like, it's supposed to, like, I came from America. I'm in China, dude.
Yeah. This
like. You know, like,
that's exactly my headspace. Like, no. Dude, that was 30 hours of planes. Like, you're not gonna have a working amp for me?
Yeah.
It's not their fault.
No.
It's nobody's fault except mine for being like expecting a working fucking amp. And I made it my enemy instead of like, what do we need to do to make this work, you know?
Right. And they obviously wanted the first amp to work perfectly, didn't want you to go through any of that.
No.
And because they're embarrassed at the same time that you're getting upset.
Mm-hmm.
And I find it funny for myself that like it's almost always the counterintuitive move that is the thing that actually allows for the thing to work. It's that moment that you give up.
Yep.
But you have to. But the problem is you have to create the tension so that it gets released. And so that's the. On the other side, that's the kind of weird, little mini weird paradox around all this stuff. Is you kind of have to get pissed and then let go to have that contrast between the two experiences to actually learn the lesson. I'm not saying that it wouldn't be sweet if you just rolled in and had it all super zen, calmed out,
right? And
it just worked, and you're like, ha, my shit works all the time. But there would be some other tension that would arise that you'd have to release.
Yeah.
And so like getting here, I had a couple run-ins with roommates, and I was like, these are things that you should know, and I'm assuming, and I'm like, I had to build this tension and get pissed at you. But like I almost, as it comes out of my mouth, I realize how much of a dick I'm being, and I'll calm down. Yeah, I'll help. I'll take the trash out. I'll do the things, But
you're super on point, though. You can only bring non-resistance to the table if there's resistance there.
Right?
Yeah, that is a twisted thing to consider,
Dude.
and I appreciate you pointing that out.
Yeah, like shadows only show up when light is present. Like that's a really that one blew my mind when
goosebumps, dude.
I can see him from here.
Yeah, dude, that's solid.
Yeah, and so that's also one of the things that I have to constantly remind friends and myself is, especially with friends that are struggling, that like will call and be like, "Yo, man, like stuff is all going wrong right now. I just stepped into the room and like everything went wrong." And I'm like, "Wow, what a bright light you are. That's incredible."
Yeah.
Like they're like, "What?" And I'm like, "No, like that's you see that when you showed up, that like all the shadow showed up because how bright you are. You have to actually just take a step back and realize if I'm going to be this bright of a light, it's going to evoke massive shadow. Like it happens. You see it with Martin Luther King Jr. You see it with Gandhi. You see it with anybody. These people that show up and they go, you know what? I'm going to burn regardless, and I'm going to give you everything I got. And then it evokes John F. Kennedy gets shot. Like different people, you could time and time again, the light shows up and it evokes an equal amount of darkness that tries to like think. I think we're, strangely enough, I don't know that it's equal. It's or it's close to equal.
Right.
But I think the light tends to kind of always just barely win. So far, so good.
I think that's the balance of the universe. Hopefully, right there.
Yeah.
And I'm sitting here tripping out on just the synchronicity of this. But you have a thing on your wall right there that says "Never give up."
Oh yeah, Dalai Lama.
Which not only pertains to what we're talking about now, but that was also my mom's line.
Really?
Who passed away about 2.5 years ago, and to be talking about this and seeing this is just that's a fist bump moment right there.
Yeah, totally.
Wow, man. Every time I'm with you, there's a little bit of this, right?
Yeah,
at least
we felt it from the first couple of phone calls and talks
dude.
on the phone and like through the interwebs and stuff, and I'm thankful to have that chemistry with you.
Absolutely.
It's really sweet.
That's again just more energetic discussion, right? Fucking people are probably just pulling their hair out listening to this. Just fucking hippies.
God damn it! But do these guys actually play guitar?
Yeah.
Like kind of shred though, right? Like, what's this guy named Sugarman? Like, Oh, damn. Okay.
Yeah, it's meditation metal.
Yeah.
No, it's not.
Yeah. I mean, but anything is. That's the beauty of any of this. Like, part of what I'm really like kind of playing with in my yoga practice and with yoga teaching and stuff too is that like it's all your point of view, like your like
point of view,
like YOU point of view yoga, right? Like this is where the union happens, but this is also where the perception can change, can alternate, can it's like if you don't like where your head is at, like you move your body, like and I say that in a kind of a double entendre way, like literally, if you don't like where the head is at, go for a walk.
Dude, I have this thing ingrained in the back of my eyeballs. Feeling follows action. That's exactly what you're saying.
It's totally that. Yeah. Because and it's just we all have these little interesting aha moments that come, and oftentimes it comes with new insight, new somebody saying, describing the same thing maybe you've heard 1,000 times, which is always a really interesting release. Is like,
absolutely,
like, and you know this through guitar teaching too, like you've had a teacher come along and say, like a D major can be played that way, but you can play it like here and here, and I'll invert it here, and like, oh, did you see it with this note on the bottom? It's like, it's still a D major, but it doesn't quite look like it, does it? And you're like, oh my god, mind blown.
Yes.
Perception changed.
Yes.
Forever. And I see that and I hear that and I feel that in yoga and the teaching and the practicing and stuff too. That oftentimes a good practice, a good physical practice, lends itself to a mental like calming and a creating of space that allows for a different way of seeing things to come in. Like, I always often try to like let people know, it's like, I don't want you necessarily to like people talk about like wanting to fill their own cup. And I get it, like that's great, like, because that's a kind of a rugged individuality type of thing. Yeah. But I'm always looking for you to empty your cup, especially in practice, because it's the thing that we don't give enough value to is space and stillness and silence, right? The thing, because that seems empty to us, right? But it's the thing that actually allows for an amazing happening, allows for a new experience. Because if your room is always full of your regular shit, like it's not very conducive to new activities. Not at all, right? So yeah, it's just these little things.
Yeah, I say this to my students all the time, especially the ones that come in, and I'll be like teaching them something, and they're like, "Oh, like this," and I'll be like, "Dude, you know the saying, empty your cup? Just dump your cup into a bucket."
Yeah.
And then you'll feel completely fucking different. Like, to me, the whole like empty your cup is like, walk in with no mind, be one, and all this shit. Like, to me, it's like, no, just dump your shit into something that's so big that makes you feel like you know jack shit again. Yeah. But don't lose what you know. I don't want you to forget what you know.
Right.
And that shift is, I think, massive, because it allows people to feel in control of taking on the challenge and doing something with it,
Begin again.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's like a little bit of begin again and a little bit of like, but without starting over.
Right. No, I 100% agree. Yeah. Because like, if we were starting over, I'd have to teach you how to walk again. Yeah. But like,
you already know how to do that.
But you already know how to walk. Yeah. Like, you're already here. You're at this point. But like, in this particular realm of consciousness and thinking, just start over. Just begin again here with me now. You already you know how to hold a pick. You know how to hold the guitar. Yep. You know how to tune it. Like, those are good things. We're starting from that place. Right. But like, other than that, like, let's just start on a new journey today. Let's write a different chapter and see what that's like, and experiment with these alternate routes.
Yeah, man. I mean, as a teacher yourself of yoga, I mean, I find that experience, the student-teacher relationship, to be so rewarding. So meditative, so reinvigorating in so many different ways. Like, to me, it's such a powerful thing to help anybody understand something they didn't know, and to see what they could do with it and what they could create with it. Like, that to me is one of the most powerful things that I think we could do as humans. Amen. Is help somebody else figure something out and do something with it. And I find guitar to be perfect for that for me.
Yeah. One of my favorite things lately, actually, just to share this, is like, I'm notoriously a big fan of Alan Watts, and I'm like constantly studying his lectures because they're so dense. And I love the sound of his voice. It's soothing to me. And the fact that nothing's okay makes it okay type of thing with him. Like, it's like nothing is safe. There's no safe. There's no security here. There's not. So that in that way, we're all equal in that way. But one of my favorite things comes from his very first book. He wrote or finished it like when he was 24, 25, in like the mid 40s.
The wisdom that guy had.
Incredible. Like, he must have been like some kind of like extra old soul by the time he hit.
I thought you were going to say extraterrestrial.
Well, that too. It could be extraterrestrial. But what his whole thing that I've been starting to infuse in classes and in my philosophy around things, because I really like the way it's painted, is that one of the greatest things that we can give to one another, or to help encourage in one another, is the freedom to be exactly who you are right now, to be this. Because in that, because there's so much that we aspire to be, like, oh, I'm gonna feel okay with being good when I finally learn that certain arpeggio or that certain song, or I finish the album, or I learn a certain yoga pose, or I fight in my Brazilian jiu-jitsu and I finally win over that guy or this level, or I get to the black belt, or like there's all this forward projection into like I'll be complete when, I'll be happy when, and the
never get there.
Yeah, no, yeah, you never arrive, right? So like in some ways, in modern Western thought, we see that as like a good thing, to kind of dangle the carrot, to dangle the carrot, and always be achieving, always be hustling, rise and grind. Yeah. Okay, that's an entry level way of getting at it and considering, but with this, when you're free to be who you are right now, and we move into towards total acceptance, even like accepting before you even accept yourself. Yeah. Like, so the place that you're at when you're kind of upset with yourself and you're digging, accepting yourself in that place. So to be totally inclusive, not the Dan that's post like, okay, you're right, bro. Like, I was a little shitty. Yeah, I was a little shitty. No, like, accept the guy that was being a dick 5 minutes ago, like, to himself and to the neighbor or whatever. That acceptance, through that, actually is that total complete freedom, and actually can move one into a potential like Buddha-like state, Buddhahood, modality
through suffering.
Because you're not in resistance, and granted, like, the resistance will come on its own. Like, life will grind on you no matter what. So if you
just have to rise, and it will grind.
That's right. That's right. I do rise, and I do grind the coffee morning. Yeah,
that's it, though. Yeah.
But yeah, like it's kind of a fun, interesting way for me to move towards that. Towards a lighter state of being, is to kind of implement that and try to revisit it as often as I can, and offer it to my friends, family, students, so on. Yes,
absolutely. Alchemy. Does that mean anything to you?
Yeah.
I personally, and this is something that I talk to very rarely to like some of my longer students, but that to me is what this is all about, is just finding a way to be like the ultimate alchemist to anything dark, like through music, through making something, through creating, through sharing yourself with other people. You can turn that shit into something positive, turn shit into gold, so to speak. And everything that I've done musically up until this point has absolutely been that. Like the record that you were just listening to, Center Sun, I wrote that entire record in 6 days.
Wow.
2 days after I found out that my mom's brain tumor came back.
Oh, man.
And I quit As Blood Runs Black that day, and I started working on this record because I knew that I needed to be home to take care of her. And those songs on that record, those 6 songs, were created in that order, and that's literally my like arc of coming to understanding my grief and coming to understand where I'm going with it, what I want to do with it. That's why it starts in such a dark, twisted place, and it ends with such a happy, uplifting song. It was me literally coming to that conclusion that like this is what's meant to be, and by literally sitting there and capturing that on those 6 days, I was exorcised of something that was fucking me up inside of me. You know what I mean? And music has always been that sense. Like, I will only ever create if I'm compelled to, through something. And inversely, I'm also a huge proponent and fan of the idea that, if you build it, they will come, in a certain sense. Same. So like, there's a certain part of me that will just be like, just sit down and start playing, and those things that have happened in your life will come out as they need to. But at the same time, like, I'm a huge user of something, like a situation around me right now. And that's all my music has ever been. Like the record that I'm about to release soon, Inside Out Part 1, I wrote those 6 songs leading up to the passing of my mom, and the 6th song wasn't finished when she passed away, and I finished it a few days after she passed. So there's like literally those 2 energies in that song, and I can't listen to it. That's why I haven't released the record yet, is because to sit down and work on the mixes and get the details right and all that shit, it puts me in a place, man. But
it's a lot of work.
It's a lot of fucking. It's emotional work.
Yeah, that's what. Yeah, it's a lot of internal work. Yeah, and like your Shinyi.
Yeah,
is
and I didn't even really finish talking about this part, but 6 months ago, I was in the darkest place of my entire life.
Wow.
I couldn't leave my house without passing out from anxiety. I was having panic attacks to where I would try to go to my car to go somewhere, and I would find myself on the floor in fetal position.
Whoa,
Past,
Dan.
like, literally couldn't leave my fucking house, dude. And that's when I started this routine that I was telling you about, where I was like, I'm going to take 3 to 5 hours every day to get my mind set for the day, because I wasn't taking care of myself. I was just grinding. Wasn't rising. I was just grinding.
Yeah.
You know, I didn't rise to any occasion. I was just sort of there going through the motions, and it chewed me the fuck up and spit me out. And I did the work to prepare myself mentally and physically. And in doing so, so many things changed in my life. You know, like me and my girlfriend's relationship, we've been together for 6+ years. It's better than ever since this.
Awesome.
Right when I got my head right, all of a sudden I'm offered to join this band. You know, I'm here in LA with you. Like, there's so many amazing things that are coming out of just like changing my internal compass.
Yeah.
For lack of a better word.
Changing your point of view.
Yeah, absolutely. And it was terrifying, dude.
I can only imagine. I've had a handful of anxiety attack type scenarios that until I had them, I didn't understand.
Yeah, I thought it was bullshit.
I honestly did too. And it was until it was a relationship thing, probably like 4 or 5 years ago, the first time I really had it, and I couldn't sleep for like 2-3 days, and I was just like, that made, and I'm a person that absolutely has to have sleep.
Yeah,
and
I'm the same way.
I was like a different person. Like, it's like not, so once you get to that state, or even begin to enter that state, to pull yourself out of it is such an interesting, questionable thing that, like, you know, it also, and it speaks to like the conundrum of a depressed person, that it's like, so the mind that is depressed, can it be trusted to know what it needs to get back to a state of normality?
You know what's
right?
fucked up is there was a moment where my girlfriend came out to visit me in Austin, and I felt all of that burn up.
Really?
And it was like a Big Bang moment. Like I hit my deepest, darkest place ever, and everything like imploded, and I was fucking worthless. I was literally like telling my girlfriend those words.
Wow.
Like, I'm fucking worthless. Like, I don't want to do this anymore. Like, I don't want life. Like, I'm over all of this. And through all of that, like, I had this out-of-body experience where I heard myself saying this shit. And I was literally like, that's not what I believe. There's something else doing that in me that's saying that. And that was like that Big Bang thing. I felt like something imploded and started again. And I took the initiative to like take care of myself, you know? And I was like, all right, I'm, 27 at this point. I'm living on my own. I should probably get health insurance and go see a therapist, right?
Sure.
So I took the steps to do so. And the Marketplace website fucked me. Didn't allow me to get insurance. So I'm sitting here in a place where it's like, I could have killed myself. You know what I'm saying? Like, I thought about it, which is really fucked up. But I want people listening to this to know that, like, we all go through this shit. And I sat down and I determined that I don't need anybody else's help. After being told that I couldn't get help, I was, that obviously fucked me up.
Right.
And I just took it upon myself to do what I could to pull myself out of it. And one of the first things that I found that helped was something called Wim Hof breathing.
Oh, Wim Hof is he's the master.
Dude, literally within 2 days of doing that.
Is that where you get the cold showers from too?
Yes.
Oh man, because I do that.
That's my whole morning routine is based on Wim Hof. Literally changed my life within 2 days.
Wow.
And I'm gonna be a douche and say this because it was really powerful to me. But I felt so compelled by it that I just made some posts on Instagram about it, being like, guys, this is what I was just going through. I truly feel like it pulled me out. Like, I feel like I have control again. And I had hundreds of people hitting me up saying that they pulled themselves out of depression.
Dude.
I had some people who were suicidal saying they pulled themselves out of it. It was unbelievably powerful.
I love that you just shared that for a whole host of reasons, because I believe that pranayama, which is breath control and yoga, is one of the number one potential like healing tools that one can practice. And there's like so many different little methods and different ways, and you might find this one in particular does it for you, or a combination of these things. But we underestimate like our breathing patterns, and we actually don't recognize. I mean, most of us listening, and most of the people around us have never been guided through any type of breath exercise other than take a deep breath.
Right.
Right.
And what's crazy about this, I'll be really, really quick, is that saying is now being proven to be bullshit because one breath does nothing. But there is a Japanese study that just found out that 6 deep breaths physically changes your neurological system. So like, let's go ahead and change it to take 6 deep breaths, and it will actually do something.
Yeah,
which is really, really powerful. And that's to me what speaks so loudly about Wim Hof is personally, like, my whole Xingyi experience was just 3D and real. You know, I'm learning how to breathe from my lung into my heart, out of my hand, and all these things that I can feel. I could physically feel my kidneys going. Sure. I could feel my hand bubbling, and when I'm exhaling out of it, all these weird 3D things. And it becomes like, you explain this to someone and they're like, dude, you're a fucking maniac. Yeah. Like, I think you should see someone about this, right? And then Wim Hof comes along talking about, quite honestly, a lot of what Xingyi is doing, except he's giving you science-backed by hundreds of studies with tons of volunteers and witnesses and people who have healed themselves. Like, to me, it removes any question that someone might have about how much of a hippie are you? And
right. And tons of personal demonstration.
Yes. Oh my God,
like,
dude.
From that guy being able to withstand these sub-zero temperatures in his underwear.
Dude, have you heard the story when he was swimming under 3 feet of Antarctic ice?
No. Because
he wanted to prove that the cold didn't bother him. So he goes down, and this was a test run. He was just practicing for it, right? So the safety divers weren't down there with him for fucking some reason, right?
Whoa.
He goes down, immediately his retinas freeze over, and he's lost trying to find the hole under 3 feet of Arctic ice for 9 minutes.
What?
One breath.
What?
And he found it. He found the hole.
Well, apparently he's still around.
They say.
They say.
And even crazier, on top of the whole he's still around thing, he has an identical twin brother.
No shit.
Who doesn't have any of what he has.
I didn't know that.
Which is like the universe throwing the middle fingers, being like, you guys need to open your eyes. Like, here's an A-B to test what is going on and what the mind and body can do when you put yourself to work.
It's always interesting too, like I don't know that story about his brother, but I jumped to conclusions in that, like, oh, my brother is this breather guy, and like, I don't know, I'm over here doing real life.
Yeah, exactly. He's probably a real estate agent or something. Yeah. And it's just insane to me that, you know, the universe is literally providing an A-B comparison to say humans can do this. It has nothing to do with genetics, nothing to do with your upbringing. It has everything to do with your training.
Mm-hmm.
And we all are in control of how we want to train, how we want to be in day-to-day life. And I think, like, that shit, I don't want to say single-handedly because I attached it to a lot of things, but the Wim Hof method really pulled me out of my funk and helped prime my mind once again, because I was all about this shit. Like, when I was 330 pounds and then got down to like 170 at one point. I lost more than 100 for sure.
Wow.
This is when I joined His Blood Runs Black. Mm-hmm. Right when I lost that weight, I got the offer to join ABRB. It's like every time in my life when something major happened, it's because I had primed myself for it beforehand.
Mm-hmm.
It's a weird thing to kind of think about, and it makes me want to constantly be priming, you know?
But had you been grasping for the thing?
Never.
The whole time?
Yeah.
Like, you might have eventually achieved it, but you might probably not have been as ready as if you had just had your head down and been practicing and doing the work.
Right.
You know, chopping wood, carrying water.
Yeah.
And then you just pull your head up and you're like, everybody's like, hey, you want to come over here and do this?
Yep.
Like, actually, I think I'm ready to do that.
Yeah,
okay.
Dude, dig a well before you need water.
Right.
Always.
Right.
That's to me the biggest thing that I'm walking away from all these like weird fucked up experiences is just like, be prepared to be the right person in the right place at the right time. Do the fucking work. It has nothing to do with just being there.
So that reminds me of my favorite, one of my favorite Osho quotes. He says, "Be reasonable, expect a miracle." Right, and I love it, and I love that because that's the flip side of things. We're always like, "Well, I'll pray for a miracle," you know, like because life is such suffering and such shit.
Just the tone of your voice says everything. I'll pray for a miracle.
Right, but well, I woke up again today. That's miracle enough. Like most of my life, actually, miracle on top of miracle on
Yeah.
top of miracle on top of miracle. And if you really want to get crazy, like listen to freaking Neil deGrasse Tyson expound about like the endless universe,
And, dude,
you'll realize again,
fuck Neil Tyson deGrasse and what he's saying. Fuck all of it.
Yeah.
Just the fact that he's saying words that you can understand through technology.
yeah.
What?
Yeah, the fact that you can hear us now and you probably didn't download this podcast.
Oh, yeah.
You're streaming it.
Yeah.
And that's going to space and coming back.
Miraculous.
Come on.
Miraculous. Yeah. I find that, dude, a dog shit on the sidewalk can be a miracle. Like,
well, so that's one of the things
the
I love.
smallest things.
Yeah, like Alan Watts is always. He's got so many great old school Zen stories. That's one of the things I love about his lectures and his books is that he will recount Zen poems and Zen philosophy that is kind of in a way like not very popular. I mean, it's popular, like the surface level of it is popular,
right?
But like the depth of that whole thing is really missed in a lot of ways. And part of what he tries to impart is that in his philosophy, after studying all these different ways of looking at or at God or a God quality or a creation energetic quality, is that the entirety of the universe's like most intricate specialties and like the most important things you could think of that would exist in the universe also exist in the most mundane things. Yeah, a candy bar wrapper on the street, a pile of dog shit. Yeah, like if you stare at it long enough. If you relax and don't try too hard, don't label it. We get out of the words, we get out of the labels, which is it's one of the hardest things for most Western minds. Oh yeah, and it's not necessarily a clearing of your mind. This is the thing that I think that is interesting about meditation and people that are, for anybody out there listening that it's like thought about getting into meditation and they tried it like, oh, I can't clear my mind. Yep. Well, stop doing that. It's just about getting still, and witnessing that, and witnessing what comes up, because the mind won't necessarily become clear anytime soon. It's going to do its thing, but if you just allow it to run its course, and you keep bringing the focus back to your breathing, that like it's a little microcosmic exercise to say, okay, monkey mind is going to run, and all these things will come up, but every time I can catch myself, I'll come back to just noticing the sensation of the breath over the nostrils. Right, and you might have to do that 6,000 times in 30 seconds. That's okay. Okay, you have to get dispassionate and throw the judgment out the window about the thing, and just be there and just notice it, and over time the intervals get a little bit longer. That's when I picked up meditation again in this darkness that I just went through. It went from like, dude, I can't even do 2 minutes, to sitting there for 45 an hour, and being like, what the fuck just happened? Yeah. And what it feels like to me, it's easy to liken it to this because I'm on computers and recording shit so often, but it's like defragmenting your computer. It's totally that. You're sitting there just doing the work to like manage the trash in your head and see what's there and clear out the debris, so that the clear mind that everyone is seeking for is just like when you open your eyes and you know what to do. Yeah. It's not necessarily in that moment where you're like, wow, nothing's there. It's that you're just prepared for what you do right after. Yeah. Valuing space is the big frontier, I think, like valuing space and stillness. I think it has been for a long time. It's just reoccurring because we're encroaching and we're filling up all the gaps, especially living in a city, any city, anywhere, but like especially in LA here, everybody wants to fill in all the space and like, oh well, that there's a field, there's a lot over there, well let's put something in it. That's like, it's the macro micro of exactly what's going on in your head. Yeah, the clutter, and so not every second of every day has to be filled with social media or a thought process. You don't have to be productive matter of fact, it's counterproductive to try to be productive at all hours of the day. Yes, matter of fact, here's a big one for you folks out there that are like struggling with maybe writer's block or like you're not being able to finish something or project. You need to take time and space away from it. Period. Like, get out. You need to walk. You need to see sunshine. You need to interact with other human beings that don't think like you. Yeah. Okay? Those stories will turn into something inspirational. That's right. It will undoubtedly come back on itself in a circle, and you're going to be like, oh my God, I took 15 minutes. I took an hour away. I took a day away from the thing, and I would have never believed that I found the answer by letting go of all of it and just going and experiencing something else, and then it brought me right full circle.
Yeah,
right back to the
absolutely.
thing.
I do this writing exercise with my students that is very related to this, but it basically comes down to like when somebody feels like they have nothing to say or nothing to do or no inspiration. I literally just ask them to tell me exactly everything that happened in that day. Like we make a list of what happens attached with the emotional stuff that was connected to it. And then we disassociate from that. And I say, literally without thinking about it, just grab a note on your guitar. The very first string, very first fret you're drawn to. Now I want you to build a second note on that based on the way it feels. I don't want you to think about things you've done, think about things you want to do. Just follow the way it feels. And we add a third note, sometimes a fourth. And what they've done is they've invented in that moment a chord that correlates exactly to their day. And then from there, we get to use the list of emotions as like verse 1, verse 2, bridge, chorus. You know what I'm saying?
Wow.
Like, and it becomes unbelievably powerful for them to see that, like, I just need to exist today to have the information and the inspiration I need to create with. And I need to trust myself by just finding that fucking first note. Because all you need is a spark. What is, the largest forest fire in the world started from? A fucking spark.
Yeah.
If you can harness that shit by just being willing and open to do the work and be receptive to the muse, you're good on anything you do in a day.
I want you to move out here so I can take guitar lessons.
Yeah,
from you,
dude.
Man. Like,
I mean,
you're the guitar teacher I've been looking for.
I am weirdly spiritual with my students about this shit. A lot of my guys come to me. I don't want to say for therapy. That's I would never put myself out there as that. But it's therapeutic. It's absolutely therapeutic. I'm helping them discover that they already are what they want to be, and it's a matter of doing the work to uncover it and continually building on it, and not getting like complacent or not getting bogged down in what you should be at this point in time. So many students, so many guitar players are battling the expectation of what they think they should be versus like what you said, just accepting and being who you are and going with that.
They say that the great way is hard to see because it's always right there before you. It's so close to you. It's so close. It's as close as the tip of your nose and your hands. Like the great understanding, and that's why it's hard to understand because we almost look past it. Yeah. Seeking the thing, like what guitar and what strings and what gauge and what amplifier and what plug-in, and who's going to produce, who's going to mix, like, and those are all relative and reasonable questions at a certain point. But
it's all doing. But
it's all doing, and there's if I can't notice that I'm the generator, if I can't see that I'm the one that is deciding that this is good or this isn't good or this is horrible and this is amazing, and that some of those things that I thought were horrible actually brought me amazing opportunities that I couldn't see at the time. Like all this concept, then it's more that inward work. It's that kind of I don't want to convolute Shin Yi, but like the way,
not at all.
Like the way I understand it, it's an internal, it's internal martial art.
Yes,
that you say
exactly.
And so there's an element of like, working from the inside out.
That's exactly what it is. The name of my record, Inside Out.
Oh, right. Hey, see, friends, full circle.
Yeah, and that's my pulling what was stuck inside of me, all the shit, all the darkness, all the fucking stuff I went through. And getting it out of me, because in that alone is therapy. And that's the alchemy thing that I'm talking about. Like, I use music as therapy, and I know it's a lame thing to say, like, this is my therapy. Like, anyone who says that is like, you should really see someone, dude. But there's something so powerful about it, man. And there's something so cool about feeling like you're in the driver's seat, but knowing you're not in a cool way. Yeah. And I love that, like, that sensation of just like letting go of the steering wheel, shutting the headlights off and seeing what happens, Yeah. I mean, not literally. That's fucking stupid, but.
No, but. Yeah, I wouldn't do that. I wouldn't advocate that.
Kids, don't do that.
Yeah, don't do that. But I would back up and say, if you even have if you have the thought that you need to see a therapist, you should have your head examined.
Yeah.
Like, and that's a funny like way of saying it, but like truthfully, until you feel to the point where you can kind of march on to your own beat, which sometimes and some of us really need a lot of help and just to kind of to see a way. We need a mentor of sorts, right? You know, to make it work. And
it's important to know yourself.
Yeah, and
for
then
sure.
you know, at some point, all those masters, all those teachers, if they're worth their salt at all, are going to point it back to you, and they're going to be say, and it's going to be self-empowerment.
Right.
If they make them themselves like make you reliant on them, then that's kind of one of the little things that you might want to be wary of. Like if they say, "Well, I'm the way, the truth, and the light," necessarily, you know, like, and this is the way you're going to find, you know, like maybe consider that.
Yeah,
take it with a grain of salt.
I don't vibe with that guru shit.
Yeah. I mean, because you're imbibed with that energetic quality from the beginning, and
I mean, yeah, I could see why you would say that, but the concept of come to me for your answers, I think, is immediately removing what people need from you.
Right.
You know, is like they need a mirror to recognize that they don't know what they want to know, and it's a very important thing to be able to be that mirror for somebody to reflect back, and like. You know, circling back to what I was saying before, it's like really important to know yourself, because these things I'm talking about how I was in a dark place and I decided to not see a therapist based on the fact that I couldn't. I only did that because I know myself, and I know that, you know, I had guitar teachers when I was coming up. I had a couple from probably ages like 13 to 17 or 16. Mm-hmm. I never practiced what they gave me. I never learned anything metal from them. I taught myself everything that I use. So like, I knew that I'm self-reliant. I could lean on myself and be okay because of past experiences. Right. I wouldn't recommend that to anybody who doesn't feel that. But
like we were talking before, it's one thing to know yourself, and it's like even especially once you're down the road and you still can find yourself out of sorts and building unnecessary quote unquote tension that you have to then relieve and come back to yourself. Mm-hmm. And there's an element of like. You need to go out and seek and see that that's not necessarily the answer, but you have to go the long way.
Yeah.
You know, we have to really learn the lesson. Most of us have to go the long way. You're really lucky if you happen upon it and you find it within yourself early on, and you can find that barometer, that centerpiece for yourself.
The Barack Obama. Just kidding. Sorry, I had to.
No, it works. It works. Hey, well, we could probably do this for like 6 days straight.
Yeah. Did we talk about guitar at all?
Like for like 2 seconds. Like
I'm sorry.
No, it's fine. That's what this is about. But like before we wrap it up, I definitely I'm always stoked on finding out what you're listening to, and so like if there's anything that you could like if there's any artists that you could tell me about that maybe aren't that well known, or just like in your sleeve that you're like are faves.
I mean, there's a slew of people. I mean, right now, I'm sure everyone's talking about Steven Toronto.
Dude.
Did Tosin talk about him?
Yeah.
I'm sure.
Well, he just signed him, too.
Oh, well.
I'm pretty sure he's like not the first, but he's one of the first.
He's one of the first guys using those.
On a Bossy concept.
Yeah, those guitars are sick.
Yeah.
But Steven Toronto just blows my fucking mind,
He's
dude.
Legit.
That dude is terrifying.
When I first heard Helix Nebula,
him and Jake are so sick, dude.
I was like, what? Like, why isn't this a big band? But then I realized they're from down under, and that was kind of like maybe there's always complications.
Yeah, and those guys are the session musicians for any dope Australian band.
Right.
They've kind of become like the wrecking crew for Australia.
Dude.
And it's really fucking cool to see. Like Jake is in his own right unreal. He plays with Pliny, for those of you guys who don't know. Those guys are fucking amazing. And Simon's, oh my god, the producing MVP, that he does. Man. Oh my, he's like Nolly 2.0.
Right. He's and what a nice guy. What a fun person to be around too. And he can hang with David Maxim and
David's one of my favorite dudes too.
And yeah,
dude, David.
Oh man,
Who Bit the Moon? I think probably got the most playing time of any CD I've ever had.
Dude, his Bilo 3.0. That was the thing that did it for me, but I like all of it.
Yeah. I mean, I heard Who Bit the Moon first and then went backwards because I like, dude, I just got into Game of Thrones recently. Like, I'm the guy who's like, when something's popular, I'm going the opposite direction.
Yeah, I'm still not into it, but maybe it'll happen.
Yeah, it'll happen on your time as it should.
Yeah.
But I'm very much that kind of guy. Like things that are popular, I'm like, well, the grain is for bitches, and I'm gonna go the other way. You know?
Yeah.
So I'm a huge fan of just like finding my own sort of path and shit. But those tend to be the musicians that stand out to me. Like David is like a melodic genius, and his production is just like levels ahead of anyone else who's doing home studio stuff.
Yeah.
And then there's Steven Toronto, who just put out such a fucking incredible instrumental record.
Love that record.
Anything that he plays on Instagram, I probably watch 100 times on repeat. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like just again, I'm not sitting there to learn the lick. I just want to watch how he moves, because through osmosis,
Yeah.
like I was saying before, I'm going to pick something up.
Picking up on the energetic quality of the thing.
Yeah. Just by seeing it enough and ingraining it in my mind. Who is another fantastic person? Well, this person doesn't need any love because they're fucking huge, but Billie Eilish? My girlfriend just showed me her, and we've been listening to that record. It's just like, how... That's the exact like color of music that I love.
Yeah.
And it's produced immaculately. They're doing stuff with vocal production that I used to mess around with my old band, The Fire Story, which never came to fruition.
Okay.
It was actually Alex Lopez from Suicide Silence was supposed to be our drummer.
Yeah.
And shit just fell apart, as things do.
Yeah.
But yeah, like it's a lot of stuff that I've already been loving and playing with. It's doing this like minimal production. God, her voice and her lyrics are just terrifying.
Yeah, some of the sparseness of the production is really kind of like, again here
it's jarring.
Again here, this is the thing I want to say to everyone again, is that like, don't undervalue space.
Yes.
Space is like actually what accentuates, which gives rise to the actual note, the actual notes, the actual things.
Yeah.
You know, when you put a dope space in there, like that can be everything.
Dude,
and sparseness is amazing.
Space is the thing that allows a shape to exist. Silence allows sound to exist.
Right.
You know, there's just like without one or the other, you are in a world of shit. And I think that there's something so powerful about like I use that all the time, like a really hard stop before like the second chorus might come around. I might even add an extra 2 beats to create more tension and anticipation.
Sure.
There's just so much to silence that I think is being used more now than it was, and I think that that's something that a lot of people are going to be getting hip to soon, especially based on people like Billie Eilish. My girlfriend said that she's 16 or something,
she's so
14.
Young. Yeah.
It's just like, I mean, I'm not going to talk about, you know, she's probably a pop culture plant who's planted in to like be this huge thing, because her whole entire family is deep in the industry.
Potentially, yeah.
But
whatever.
who cares?
Yeah, like no, that's. I mean, look,
it's justified.
I can say this because it's you.
Yeah, no one's here. It's just us.
But yeah, it's just us. But like even the most, again, even that you can find the most like interesting things in the most mundane, or like just because it came from a place that is maybe very intentionally looking, like, okay, Stranger Things. We all know that was geo-engineered for us.
Oh yeah,
for a certain demographic of people.
Every piece of nostalgia that should be there was.
It was there, right?
Yeah.
And I still love it.
Yeah,
I still think it's great. Like there's so many, and there's a couple
spoon-fed.
of bands. Now it doesn't always work, because what was that band that sounded like Zeppelin recently? Like,
Greta
Van Fleet.
Yeah,
didn't work.
But Ghost
works.
That's worked.
Yeah, even though I'm still coming around to that.
I'm in the same boat as you.
But I'm closer to that than I am the Greta Van Fleet thing, right?
For
Greta
sure.
Van Fleet thing just feels contrived.
Try hard.
Yeah, really, really try hard.
Yeah, it's
Mega
not.
try hard.
It's not.
So you can't grasp the energetic quality thing, because you guys you don't really actually have the Zeppelin thing. Sorry, you just don't.
I'll be honest as fuck, man. Like the band that I'm playing with right now, Ice Nine Kills.
Yeah,
that's a curated ingredient list.
Sure.
You know what I'm saying? It's like, we are a horror movie themed band that dresses like horror characters on stage, and all of our songs are about horror movies.
Yeah, it's a narrow audience and people that you're looking for.
You would think that and say that, but from touring for the past 10 years, I have never seen a wider demographic in my fucking life.
Interesting.
We have ages 5 to 70 coming to our shows.
That's cool.
I've never seen that in my life, dude. We have people who are, you know, diehard metalheads to rock radio people to ICP. It's like, I've never seen I just said ICP on air. I feel terrible.
Did.
Yeah.
It's okay.
Can we delete that? I'm just kidding.
No. Not possible.
Yeah, dude, but it's just like, based on the fact that it's like spoon-fed, curated ingredients, is something that either will drive people insane or it's going to speak so directly to them and be so just easy to digest that it works.
Well, and
it's
I think
a fine line.
It kind of speaks to me, like in marketing, like working with, the Dunlop crew and EMG and all these things throughout the years. It's like anytime that we tried to make a product that was for everyone, like it almost always, not always, but a lot of times it'd fall flat.
Dude,
you're like, it's great for country music and shred metal. And everybody's like,
nope.
I don't want it.
Yeah.
Like, but the moment you say, for example, like we made super bright bass strings. We're like, this is for funk, soul, slap bass players.
Nailed it.
That's it. That's all. This is just for you guys. And then all these metal dudes and all these rock dudes like, but like I want that type of.
Yeah.
Everybody bought them.
Dude,
everybody bought them.
My mind is immediately like, if you look at Denny's menu versus In-N-Out.
Right. Oh my God.
You have two options at In-N-Out, or you will be reading a menu for 3 days.
Yeah, you could have anything you want, or just the thing that we make.
Yeah, and 9 times out of 10, In-N-Out's going to take the lead. I mean, we all know Denny's is a larger fucking company, but
yeah, I guess.
But I think In-N-Out is probably got more fanfare, more diehard. I will kill you if you don't agree with In-N-Out being the best.
For sure. Well, that also speaks to
Whataburger sucks, by the way.
Whataburger sucks. It also speaks to the concept of, especially in a complex age of option paralysis that is available.
Yes.
Right? Like, give me all these options, and it's gonna take me. Like, Netflix is a fucking problem, bro. Like, we all talk about it. We're like, I
spent hours looking through stuff.
I have bailed more nights than I can count after just looking for something. I'm like, I'm too tired now. I've been looking for an hour.
Yeah, dude.
Because there's too many things to choose from. And I'm like, how do I actually feel tonight? I should have waited to get stoned till after I chose something.
Yeah, dude. Fuck.
But, it's
so
that
real.
Thing where like, and I feel it the same way with like amplifiers. Like, I'm a fan of like at least as many controls.
Right.
Like, give me a few knobs.
Yeah.
And set the thing up where it's hard to sound bad. Like, make it easy for me to make one or two choices.
Man, just my shift from playing Music Man guitars to playing Kiesel guitars. Mm-hmm. Holy fuck, that's exactly what it is. It was too many knobs that I would never fucking use.
Oh, yeah.
My tone just sounded like anyone who plays a fucking Music Man, and I could point that out in 2 seconds. Whoever plays one.
Yeah.
It's a JP 90% of the time.
Yeah.
And then I go on Kiesel, and it's just so minimal, and all of a sudden I'm actually changing my tone. I'm actually finding unique placements for my dials that it's usable instead of being like, can I mix all of these types of food? Like, can I have Mexican, Korean burger bread? Like, the fuck did you just order? Like,
yeah. Or, I mean, just tacos. It's Tuesday, bro.
Yeah,
just eat tacos.
Just eat tacos. Like, you don't need to put gefilte fish in there.
No,
it's not.
No, but I get that. That the options can be enticing. That's why Fractal, Axe Effects, and Kempers abound.
Kemper, baby.
Yeah, and I can't argue. I like all of them for what they have to offer.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I think that, circling back, I think that there's something to be said about the bands who hone in on a particular ingredients list that are clearly designed to hit the masses, but when they put it together right, it's that In-N-Out menu. You know what I'm saying? And people, I think, flock to that. And I'm saying this as a complete outsider stepping into this new band all of a sudden, but like, Ice Nine Kills is one of the best at doing that I've ever fucking seen. Yeah. Like, we were on this tour, and Florida, we weren't allowed to play the House of Blues because Disney decided that we were too evil for children.
Wow.
So the day after that, we created tooevilforchildren.com and released T-shirts of like Mickey Mouse cutting his throat open, or like Goofy with the Freddy Krueger glove, and we sold thousands of these within minutes.
I believe.
And we had news broadcasts all over about it. It's just like the business mind and the ability to like know what the demographic is is just unbelievable to me. And the team behind this band is just flawless. We've got so much stuff in the future that it's just, I'm really happy to be a part of this new team and see where it goes.
That's cool, man. Congratulations on the gig.
Yeah, it's a weird one, dude. I mean,
on multiple levels.
Yeah, it's very fucking weird. And like, dude, like, again, saying this from an outsider looking in, they sold 20,000 records first week.
Damn.
That's not happening in metal anymore. It's just fucking not. Like, I don't even know if like 5 Finger Death Punch is like getting numbers that sick. I don't know.
Probably.
But the fact that you would say probably means there's a little bit of maybe not, and a little bit of like maybe that's what they got. I mean, the fact that
I remember like the last Polyphia record, which is
they got like 8K, right?
They got like 10K in
That's
the first
insane.
week. Yeah, so it's like
fucking insane.
So they're changing a game.
Yeah,
obviously. And
was this when they introduced the hip hop thing?
This is the last record.
Yeah.
This is like New Levels, New Devils.
Yep.
It was like, matter of fact, the first episode of this podcast was with
Polyphia.
them the week that dropped.
Dude.
But like 10K that week, and so for an instrumental.
That's insane.
An instrumental guitar boy band that is like, that is just constantly shit posting, and which I'm actually such a fan of. Like, a lot of people, they get a lot of shit because people don't understand them.
Yeah.
If you get any time with any of the guys, you're probably going to be won over because they're really nice dudes.
Yeah.
And the fact that they're that nice and that funny and
that's smart.
Phenomenal guitar players. To be honest, like their arrangements are killer.
And I'm a huge, like I've said this, whether I'm saying business or Jew jokes, like I'm very drawn to the way that business is run with bands, because being in a smaller band, my first band, Fallen Figure, we almost got Brian Slagle wanted to sign us to Metal Blade a bunch of years ago. If anyone doesn't know, Brian Slagle found Metallica and Slayer and shit. Yeah. So this was like a really big fucking deal. They wound up signing Whitechapel in lieu of us because we turned down the deal, which was fucking nuts. So I come from like being in a shitty business run thing because we didn't know what the fuck we were doing, and then right around that time I got asked to join ABRB, which was a business mess, and now I'm stepping into this thing, and I'm always paying attention to that stuff, because to me the inner workings of the band, the stuff that goes on behind the scenes, the personalities of the members, that stuff goes the distance. And all you have to hope is that the audience chooses you, because there's really obviously there's ways to inject yourself and force yourself onto people, but the audience has to be receptive to something that's out of your control. And I don't know, I'm just very drawn to the inner workings of stuff. I think that's a really big part of why I'm doing bands again, because I swore this shit off when my mom got sick. I was like, dude, I'm just gonna be studio guy, write music, do lessons. Being home and being stable is something that I'm very drawn to. And you sometimes you set these goals for yourself, and then you're living the goals without reassessing what you want next, and you're just kind of living the same day-to-day life over and over again. And if you ask yourself, like, holy shit, like I've done the thing, what's next? I think it's really important to like reassess and come up with a game plan and come up with a way to achieve those things. And sometimes all you have to do is prepare your mindset, and opportunities come your way. I feel like that was my case, at least. Yeah,
I like that. It sounds more like making space for the thing, clearing it out and seeing what is to come.
Absolutely.
Well, I appreciate you sitting down and spending like a big chunk of your day with me today,
dude. It's my fucking honor to be here. I would have come if you didn't hit record on accident the whole time. I would have done this whole thing. Yeah. No, I know we would have done it anyway. Yeah. But let's wrap it. You brought that sick joint. Sit down.
Players Pick Podcast. Picks and perspective with Chris Johnson.
Peace, guys. Love you.
Pool table.
This episode of Players Pick Podcast brought to you by our good friends at Jim Dunlop Guitar Products, Kiesel Custom Guitars, and Mackie Headphones and Mixers. Sound design by Drew of the Drew, and voiceovers by the amazing Minnie Joe. Thanks for listening. Until next time.